If we got one?
Positive thinking. I like that.
Okay, we're live, and this is the MCU's Bleeding Edge. And really quick, because I'm so professional that I actually forgot my notes. So, Cyber, if you don't mind, would you please go ahead and introduce everybody quick?
All right. So welcome to the MCU's Bleeding Edge, folks out there in live stream land. So, of course, over here we have our wonderful Mr. Perry. This way, sorry. I always get it logically wrong. But we got our awesome Perry over here who's returning after a little hiatus. Then also we have our great friend Arch up here that joined us last time, and he's kind of a new guy around, and he's fun. Then, of course, we got Mr. Jeff Staboda over here. And then we have first-time comer. I'm sorry, what was the name again?
That's Taylor.
One more time.
Name's Taylor. Glad to be here. Thank
you. I didn't catch it last time. Taylor.
I'm sorry, Cyber. I'm sorry. No, I got it with Taylor. Taylor is from the Podcast of Champions. I met him on Sakar, the free forums website that Arch and Grandmaster were nice enough to invite me on, and I've enjoyed being on there. People are being a little bit timid about talking to me so far, but Taylor was like man enough to like hit me up and be what's up. So we ended up hooking up today, and he jumped in and like kind of helped us out a little bit when unfortunately Ori pulled an amateur move last second and like pulled out of the show over some like straight up garbage. So like, hey, over here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge, we don't attack people personally or like, get ugly with people or whatever. When stuff happens, we just say it is what it is, and we move on and we focus on the MCU content, baby. That's what we're here for. So Ori, good luck with your bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, God bless you. But anyways, so listen, it's great to see you, Perry. Good to have you back. Cyber,
excited to be back.
Good to see you, brother.
Uh-huh.
And Arch, thank you very much for being on here again with us, man. Like, honestly, you had a really impactful like appearance on the stream last time, and Cyber and I both genuinely appreciated everything that you brought like to the show.
Hey, cool guys. I really enjoyed talking to you. I thought it was a great talk. A lot of detail that came out of it. So awesome to talk to you guys about anything. I'm really excited about this one. I can't wait to see where it goes. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited that Taylor was able to join us because we want to try to get as many folks from the Podcast of Champions to get involved with this series as possible. And again, I mean, I genuinely appreciate you, Arch, like sticking with us and whatnot and everything, and getting on with us again. But all right, so I mean, let's go ahead and jump into Captain Marvel, and just to like start things off, why don't I go ahead and drop the trailers? We'll check those out. And that will roll right into my initial question to all of you. And then we'll kind of go from there and see where the opinions for Captain Marvel lie.
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
War is a universal language. I know a renegade soldier when I see one. Never occurred to me that one might come from above. Space invasion, big car chase. Truth be told, I was ready to hang it up till I met you today. So you're not from around here?
It's hard to explain. I keep having these memories. I see flashes. I think I had a life here. But I can't tell if it's real.
We You have no idea what threats are out there. We can't do this alone. We need you.
I'm not what you think I am.
Whoa.
All right, folks, one more.
Oh, one more.
So, Skrulls are the bad guys. And you're a Kree, a race of noble warriors.
Heroes. Noble warrior heroes.
Your life began the day it nearly ended. We found you with no memory. We made you one of us so you could live longer, stronger, superior. You were reborn.
I keep having these memories. Something in my past is the key to all of this.
You know how to fly this thing?
We'll see.
That's a yes or no question.
Yes.
Would you like to know what you really are?
I think I had a life here. What aren't you telling me?
You've come a long way, but you're not as strong as you think. This war is just the beginning.
I'm not gonna fight your war. I'm gonna end it.
Aren't you the cutest little thing? Aren't you cute? And what's your name, huh?
Fury.
What's cute? I'll be back.
All right. That was a nice trip back in time. Okay, so here we go. Right off the bat, y'all. Here we go, squad. How did you guys feel about the film initially after seeing the trailers? If you can remember back, like, 2019 when you saw the trailers or saw one of the trailers. We'll start off with Arch. Arch, what did you think when you watched the trailers before you saw the film? What were your expectations?
I was excited. I mean, seriously, like even watching these now, I feel the same as I did then. I mean, like they just feel like cosmic awesomeness to me. I kind of get excited about them. I initially thought like I was more excited about the first trailer, but really watching the second one, I'm just like, I don't know, just makes me really want to go watch this movie now. But no, really, I love the space music that they put into it. I mean, music plays a large role in getting you into these things. I thought it was great. I thought the look of all these things are good. The look of the Skrulls is great. I was excited for it, man. I really was.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think they did a really good job with the Skrulls. They did. Taylor, Podcast of Champions. What did you think, brother, when you saw the trailers and whatnot? Were you like extremely optimistic about Captain Marvel?
Yes, I was extremely excited by the trailers. The MCU does trailers right every time. They show you, they give you a taste, they show you what's coming, but they don't give away anything as far as the story goes. In fact, they even throw you some curveballs in the trailers that end up being twists in the movie. And I mean, come on, it was Nick Fury, it was Skrulls, it was Kree, it was a blockbuster video. Of course, I was excited about the movie.
Good point, man. I love the 90s narrative. I love the 90s theme. Like me and Perry were talking about that earlier. I love it. Like as a 90s kid or whatever, like I'm all about it, man. I love the 90s. Best decade ever. Anyways,
We can have a discussion about that, but okay.
well, yeah, Cyber. What were your thoughts? I know you saw the trailers back in 2019. So what were your thoughts going into before you watched Captain Marvel? What were your expectations?
Well, when I first heard that Brie Larson was cast as Captain Marvel, that kind of pushed it under for me for wanting to see the film at first. Because I'm not a huge fan of hers. I don't really care for her. I think she's a little overrated. And, the only other movie I had seen her at the time, I had seen her in 2 films by that time, 21 Jump Street, and then, of course, the Room film that she won the Oscar for. And when I saw her in the film The Room, I just thought she was so overrated and she did not deserve the Oscar. So when she ended up being casted, I was like, I'm not too sure about that. But then once one of the trailers dropped and I saw the trailer, I said, okay, the movie itself looks like it's going to be a pretty decent film. I'm just not sure still about her. And then after I saw the film, I was like, okay, she wasn't too bad in it. But yeah, definitely the trailer, it was really great trailer. Both of them. They were just really well done. Like Taylor was saying, that Marvel does a really good job with doing their trailers. They just looked really entertaining. I mean, you can't go wrong. Samuel L. Jackson. I watch him in anything. It could be a 5-second long role. I'll still go see it just for him. But yeah, he's the one that really pulled me in these trailers and the reason why I wanted to see it.
Most definitely. Harry, your thoughts?
Yeah, just like everybody's saying, Marvel. They're too good. They're too good for their own good sometimes. Like that's how it feels. That they can hit you where they want to hit you with these trailers, and kind of with what Cyber was saying, that it's like with Brie Larson, it was kind of iffy in terms of, but the thing I that always kind of was I was like, I don't know if I see her as a superhero. I guess with other people too, like Chris Evans was one of those people too that people just were like, how is he going to be Captain America? Because he was so typecast as one person, and he nailed it. Now we'll get into whether or not we think Brie Larson nailed it or not, probably in a little bit. But in terms of the trailers, I was so hyped because I was ready for that next step into the cosmic part of the MCU that they were just starting to break through. That they touched at where it was it felt like the Guardians of the Galaxy universe that we were watching was finally they were bringing the 2 universes together a little bit. So in that regard, it got me really excited to see this character and to obviously get back into the 90s. And I was born in the 90s, but I got the remnants. I saw everything from the 90s kind of die off a little bit in my youth, so I get to hold on to it a little bit. But there was some stuff that was fun. Yeah.
Well, honestly, before I even say anything, myself about the trailers, I want to kind of just jump right off that. And something I was just thinking about was going back to you, Arch. When you saw Infinity War, I'm assuming in theaters or maybe not, I don't know. What were your thoughts when you saw the beeper and Samuel L. Jackson dropped the beeper, the pager, and you saw the Captain Marvel logo? Where were you at with that?
Oh, you mean back in Infinity War? You mean drop the beeper?
Yep.
Oh,
End credits of Infinity War.
Yeah, no, I didn't know what they were going to do with Carol. I mean, I just assumed. I didn't know. I don't think at the time we didn't even know that this was going to be a flashback film, so I didn't know what they were going to do with that. At that point, I just assumed, Carol's going to be this major influence going forward. But I mean, I thought the beeper was a great thing. It was clearly this dated reference that was some sort of nostalgic throwback, because beepers in the day were kind of a big thing. And spoilers, I'm kind of a kid of the 90s. I was born a little bit before that. I won't tell you exactly when, but I experienced all of the 90s in their full glory. So I loved every bit of the 90s nostalgia here, from the Nine Inch Nails t-shirt to the Smashing Pumpkins band stickers that were up on the walls. Just every little bit of it. The videos in the arcades, all of it was just awesome. I thought it was.
I got a Smashing Pumpkins freaking poster on my wall, man.
Right? No, it was awesome. I'll tell you what. There's a plaza right over there that I could walk to within 5 minutes here that used to have a Blockbuster Video in it, and there's not a time I don't drive past that plaza and not think of, man, I wish the Blockbuster Video was still here. There really is. So I love that.
Well, let me be honest. Honestly, Arch, it's not a poster. I have a like an advertisement for a show that Smashing Pumpkins did with Garbage, because I like to buy the old like advertisements for like, you know, the old posters for the shows.
Right.
And I actually saw them like on that tour back in the day.
Wow.
But yeah, dude, I'll show you another time. I've got a huge poster of Shirley Manson when she was young, like when Garbage first started.
Right.
On bed, man. Like, you know, I'll tell you right now, man, she was a big crush of mine back in the day.
I could see it. And Garbage got a song in the soundtrack too. So
yeah. No, they did, and honestly, I loved that. It only happens when it rains or whatever song. Oh my god, I loved that back in the day. But no, like Taylor, I guess my point with this just is wanting to ask you this is kind of like, what was your initial take when you saw the beeper and you saw the Captain Marvel logo and everything and whatnot? Because for me, I was like thrilled. I was excited like freaking like crazy.
Yeah, I was completely thrilled. And it was really cool the way they did it. How he got dusted, or whatever they're going to call it, blipped, we call it now in the universe. But he slowly faded away, and he's still pushing the buttons on the beeper, and then it just drops as his hand goes away, just before he says the classic Samuel L. Jackson catchphrase, which you can't say in MCU movies.
Oh, well, you can say it on the MCU Bleeding Edge, Taylor.
Yeah, okay. But you see it bleeping there on the ground, and then you see the logo slowly emerge, and I was just like, holy crap, he's calling in Captain Marvel for backup on this thing. And I was like, we're going there. We're going next level.
So, Cyber.
Yep.
I mean, were you just like, were you like climatic about the whole thing because you already were down on the Brie Larson deal or whatever? Or what did you think when you saw Infinity War and you saw that end credit scene?
I mean, I knew it was coming. I knew that the character Captain Marvel wasn't in Infinity War, but was going to be in Endgame, because before that end credit scene even came out, they were already talking about that there was going to be this post-credit scene with, saying, oh, Captain Marvel will be a part of the next film. So I was ecstatic because they were, finally going to be kind of connecting those dots, for Captain Marvel, the first film, to, the next part of the MCU, journey. Kind of like Perry was talking about earlier, about, going in the next evolution of, the, more into space-themed MCU heroes and stuff like that. And, I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great, end credit scene. We knew it was coming. I mean, if you're logical and know how the MCU works, you kind of knew that was coming eventually. You just don't know when. But I remember sitting in theaters, watching that end credit scene and going, cool, can't wait. It'll be interesting to see her level of, what she plays out in the film for Endgame. But at the same time, by that time I had already seen Captain Marvel, and my expectations had changed with, how I felt about Brie Larson in the role, and I thought she did, an okay job. So at that time, I was a little bit more excited than I was when I saw the trailer for Captain Marvel.
That's understandable. What were your thoughts, Perry?
So, I'm gonna be completely honest. I had to when I saw it, because I was still like, when did Infinity War came out in what? 2018, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, I was still like starting to get more into like reading the comics, and so when I saw it, I was like, pretty sure that's Captain Marvel. And then I had to look it up, and then I said to my friend that I was like, it's Captain Marvel. So I had to play that game a little bit, but it
at least you're honest, Terry.
Yeah, dude, I can't even pretend to like say that I know everything about the comics, because it's like, you ask me one deep question and I'm like, I can get there at some point, but that was one of them where I was like, okay, I really need to like know more about these things, because I just had to second guess whether that was like Captain Marvel, like the logo. So that was when I really started like diving more deep in. But when I saw it, and then I like looked it up that it was Captain Marvel, that's when I was like, oh shit. I was like, all right. I was like, let's see where this goes, because in a power sense, she like crushes pretty much everybody that we had seen besides like maybe like Thor, but like power wise, she's like the Superman of like that sense. Like she's almost indestructible in a sense, you know? So when they introduced that, I was like, okay, so how are they going to do this without like overpowering her or making it too far on one side, you know? Like where are they going to like leave the limits, you know? So that was kind of like my thought process afterwards, but I was excited to see what they were going to do with it for sure.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, like I already said, I was totally. I mean, look, Infinity War was an exciting film for me. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, I'll put it out there right now. Infinity War is my favorite MCU film. It is. I find it to be. It's literally for me. It's what really like still sends chills down like to my spine almost when I watch the trailers for it and stuff like that, and see people's reactions to the trailers and everything. I mean, I feel like the Infinity War trailers were the best trailers that the MCU ever had. But that's just me. But I was like as stoked as possible when I saw like that beeper scene and I saw the Captain Marvel logo. I love that logo. I do. I love it. Like I love the color scheme. I love the logo. Um, I just don't like friggin' Brie Larson or Captain Marvel that much. To be honest with you, like I'm not trying to be the devil's advocate or whatever here. Like honestly, like I wanted to be as optimistic and like confident about Captain Marvel as I could be. But the fact of the matter is kind of like Perry. I read Marvel comics in the late 80s and throughout the 90s. I never like really knew about Captain Marvel that much or like read really that much about her character or what she was about. I just had like a basic gist of like what she was, you know, who she was, what her power set was and everything and whatnot. And like you know, Perry already mentioned the whole like concept of them going cosmic with the MCU and rolling in like you know, the like eventually like, you know, I'm trying to think of some of the characters. Oh, like rolling in like you know, Nova and like, you know, rolling in like they're potentially going to in the Eternals, like actually show some of the like the old fathers and like, you know, the beings that predated
Celestials and stuff. Yeah.
Celestials that predated the MCU, basically. Um, I was really hyped about that whole concept, and I still am to some extent. You know, waiting kind of to see where that flushes out. But basically, for me, it was just like a really exciting thing. And for me, I guess I just say that as far as the trailers go, I would agree with Arch 100% that I don't know, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, you know what? Marvel Studios is pretty good at putting these trailers together. They do a good job. And you know, based on those trailers, you'd think that it was a pretty good film. But I'll be honest with you, I just watched it today, and my opinion on it has not changed. It's not exactly Oscar bait, you know, as far as I'm concerned. Um, so where I want to kind of go with that is just basically like, what do you guys think that like worked in the movie? Like, what do you feel worked with the story and worked with the movie? I mean, Taylor, like to start off with you, like, what did you feel like? What did you feel like worked for you?
Okay, I can tell you a lot of things that I think worked. First of all, people forget how big this movie is. It's huge. It starts out on the Kree homeworld, where we actually get a glimpse of Kree life, and then we find out she's on a crack commando team in the Kree military. They get a mission. They go to another planet. They fight some Skrulls. She gets captured. They torture her upside down and suck memories out of her brain and watch them on TV. Then she presses to a blockbuster and runs into Coulson and Nick Fury. So they you know, epic. And then, you know, we're on multiple spaceships. We go up into orbit later on. Photon. It was just nonstop. So that's big picture what works. The overall scheme and scale of the movie really worked. Nick Fury. this movie had the most Nick Fury of any MCU movie ever, and it was a relatively young Nick Fury with 2 eyeballs most of the time. But he's still badass as heck. He's still doing what he needs to do to get the job done.
Yep.
And he's still rolling with the punches, man. I mean, invasion from outer space, shape-shifting aliens, and he's just going with it. He said, "Do it. I'm just going to save the world. You know, I'll team up with this chick here, and we'll make it happen." She's got what it takes, but it took him a while to find that out. So that worked for me. The other thing you mentioned, the whole '90s setting worked great for me, and I'll throw some shade. Unlike another superhero movie that was set in the '90s called Dark Phoenix, where they did not reference the '90s once in that entire movie. Why it was set in the '90s, I don't know. It could have been at any time whatsoever. But Marvel knows if you're going to set a movie in a time zone, you've got to emphasize that time zone, and not just in the obvious stuff like the fashions and the music and blah, blah, blah. They have this incredible ability, and you guys talked about it a little bit with First Avenger being set in World War II and how it had that old 1940s pulp action movies, Indiana Jones type feel to it. This movie, remember when she fell in that blockbuster? What was one of the posters she saw? True Lies. This movie felt like True Lies, a movie from the '90s. That scene on the train, that big fight on the train, that could have been right out of True Lies. That's how it was filmed. That's how it felt. So that was another thing that worked for me.
Come on, man. Arnold Schwarzenegger could not have saved this film, bro. He could not have done it, man. Even if he came out of the woodwork now, like in retirement, he couldn't save Captain Marvel, man. But anyways, what do you think, Perry? Like, what worked?
So kind of like Taylor was saying, like I think the story, when you look at it like big picture wise, the story works. The problem, I think, what came through it is the way that they went about it in certain ways and stuff. I think the supporting cast was really good. I think Samuel L. Jackson did a really good job feeling like the more naive version of him that we see later, you know? Like, I think he did a really good job, like, and especially, like, you see, like, the last, like, scene that he's in where he's talking to Coulson, and he's talking about there's so many different dangers out there that we don't even know about, and we're not prepared to do it. You automatically, like, you see that change already. Like, you see the change at the end of the movie that turns him into the person that we see, like when we meet him in Iron Man and all the other movies following, you know? So I think that worked, going from him being kind of like a little more naive, like younger guy, and then he sees all this shit and he's like, what are we going to do next time they show up? Like, what's going to happen? And it was cool to see that. And I think Jude Law did a good job for what like he was supposed to do. I don't think it was anything phenomenal, but I think he hit every mark that he had to hit, in terms of being like the friend and then the foe, sort of, so to speak. I liked the worlds that they created. I liked, like the Kree home world. I think it felt it felt like it was like an alien planet, but still didn't feel like it was so far different than the stuff we saw in Guardians, where it still felt familiar, but it still was a new planet. You know, I think a lot of that worked. Most of the de-aging worked really well. But yeah, that's kind of like it's a lot to do with like the supporting cast and kind of the overarching big story parts of it worked for me.
Okay. All right. Cyber?
In a whole, the film I think did its purpose. It gave us this great nostalgia, but also gave us a decent introduction into who Captain Marvel is and kind of what was behind how she became Captain Marvel and kind of where she was at to be able to fit into the MCU's timeline. Just like you, Jeff, at the same time, this isn't my favorite Marvel film, but at the same time, I still think it's entertaining enough to watch it here and there, and still very entertaining and a good addition to the MCU's timeline. and adding some flavor in it, giving us another female superhero at the same time as giving us this other cosmic creature that we're dealing with. Even though she is from Earth, she is human, but it was, because of the Tesseract, basically, or Space Stone, why she becomes Captain Marvel. That I know is different from what was in the comic books. I do know that. I am not as familiar with the comic books as everyone else, probably. But at the same time, I just thought that it was a decent film that gave us an overall good presence of who Captain Marvel is, to kind of introduce her into the MCU and give us that push in the right direction for the film.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty fair, Cyber. I mean, do you feel like based on that, at that point, that Captain Marvel 2 should improve on like what they did in that film, in the first one?
Well, any sequel should improve on what it did in the first film, but unfortunately, a lot of the times they lack that because either one, they get different writers, two, they get a different director, or three, they just don't have that same presence as the first one because it's not as new and we're already familiar with it. And so, unfortunately, what usually happens is these sequels are as lustrous as the original. But I feel that because of how good Marvel is with their success, that the Marvels, the second Captain Marvel film, will probably be hopefully better, especially with the fact that we're getting a couple other characters in the film that are other Marvels that we're going to be introduced to. So that might help improve it and take the stigmatism out of who Brie Larson is and people not enjoying her, because you have these other characters she's going to be sharing the screen with. That might bring a little more popularity into the Captain Marvel series. But at the same time, if you're looking for Oscar worthiness for these films, it's not going to happen. That's not what these are for. They're,
of course,
that's not what they're for. They're for entertainment. They're for the comic book, fans, and that's what they're going to give you.
I still swear to God, I think that like Infinity War and Endgame should have been up for Oscar contention. I don't care.
Endgame was.
Let's be honest.
Endgame was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Endgame was.
These were the most impactful freaking movies that came out in the last couple of years. Like nothing like was at the scale of Infinity War and Endgame. I mean, honestly, like it was like a cultural event when these movies came out. Right, Arch?
It was absolutely a cultural event. I had women at floofy soap stores at downtown Disney asking if I'd seen this film. That doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. It was huge. It was huge.
Floofy?
Floofy soap stores downtown.
I mean, women talking to you, right?
No.
Women don't talk to him. No.
Nothing like this. Nothing like this. Like floofy soap stores. If Basin in Disney Springs, I'll call it by its official name, in Orlando, like just walking through the place is packed and like, have you seen Infinity War? Have you seen it? Have you seen Endgame? Have you seen it? Like never doesn't happen with any other film. I've never heard of that before. It was just lines out the door down the street. It was unbelievable.
Okay, Arch, what worked for you? I'm really interested in hearing your opinion on this. What worked for you in Captain Marvel?
I really love this film. I really do, like top to bottom. Like, so a number of things, and I'll try to kind of go a little deep here. Like, I love the story structure of it. I think this film really flows well. Like, I think it's one of those films, and you can't say this about a lot of films, but like each scene just kind of works on its own little thing, and then you kind of get to the next scene, and I kind of just want to keep watching the next scene. I just really enjoy it. Just from an overall big picture story arc, like how her character arc unfolds, I think there's a number of key elements like I would point to really interesting, actually, just as a storytelling device. Like primarily, like every time she gets in a phone call with Jude Law, first of all, I love how she's rigged up this payphone, which is a very 90s thing, by the way, to be able to like have interstellar conversations. I think that's awesome. But each time she's just a little more aware of what's going on. Like she starts off and she's like kind of doubting him, and then she's suspicious, and then later she's just completely like, all right, you're full of shit. Like she progresses in each of those conversations, and I think those are really telltale signs of really kind of smart writing. I think it's a great character development. I really do. There's another little scene that kind of plays into that too. It's when she and Nick Fury are kind of in the the file room or whatever it is they're in, where they're like finally discovering what this is. And she opens up that book, and he's like, "Oh, Nick is like, oh, she was cuckoo because she has those Krieg glyphs and stuff in there, and it looks like something some insane person would write." But all of a sudden, Carol's like, "Wait, I recognize this," but she doesn't confess this to him. She stands there, not knowing what to do, and I think it's actually really great acting by Brie. In the sense that like she's confessing. I mean, I can't think of an exact moment where I've had this, but I'm sure we've all had these moments where all of a sudden we're just kind of shocked by something and we're just like kind of don't know what to do about it. And I really kind of felt that out of her in that moment. I thought it was great. The and then all of that builds up to them listening to that tape recording, which they had to upload to a file, and of course all these highly advanced alien technology people are like, why is this taking so long to load? I love that scene. That's very, very
that
nice.
One scroll.
Yeah,
the one scroll.
He's like,
he's just yeah.
And you got the dial tone, the internet AOL login dial tone. I thought all of that was great. But so I thought I thought all of that was really super good. Like, just the movie just keeps flowing to me, and I can kind of just watch each scene, and I'm like eager to get to the next scene. I think it's great. There's one thing that maybe like a little, I'm thinking about it too much, sort of deep on it, but I love the concept of the Supreme Intelligence. Like, so I kind of try to sometimes think about our society and like how we would progress in the next 100 years, the next 500 years, the next 1,000 years. I don't know if you guys ever sit around and wonder what human society is going to be like in 10,000 years, but I do, right? That may be a little nerdy, but I mean, it's, you know, it's stuff that real people in the real world, like Elon Musk, are doing with like missions to Mars and things like that. Like, so, I mean, I don't think it's like all that really nuts. I just wonder about the idea of like a society like the Kree getting to this place where they have this supreme intelligence, and they've like programmed this AI to map everything out and tell them what the best organizational structure for the optimal society is. And I think that idea is like really cool as a real thing an alien civilization might have done. That's, you know, tens of thousands of years more advanced than we are, and a place that we might end up getting to. So I think all of that's like really intriguing, to be honest. I really enjoy it from that perspective. I do.
No, those are great points. Those are great points, Arch. And I mean, honestly, look, I already said I had no negativity or no like pessimism going into Captain Marvel at all. When I saw it the first time, I was very like optimistic about the whole thing. I knew nothing about Brie Larson, and like really didn't know what to expect. And I'll just be honest with you. I mean, I'm not playing favorites at all here, like as like an old school Marvel, you know, fan and MCU fan. You know, Captain America is my favorite superhero, but I love Captain Marvel. I mean, I already said to Arch earlier before the show, I plan on buying some Captain Marvel merch just because I enjoy it. I bought it before and given it to like my family members as presents and stuff like that when I bought it. So like I like Captain Marvel, I do. And I'm very optimistic for Captain Marvel too. I mean, Monica Rambeau's going to be in it. You know, like she was basically like the dark horse of WandaVision. I mean, you know, she was the John Walker of WandaVision. You know, so I mean, if you want to give John Walker that much credit, I do. But for me, I feel like there were just times in the story where I kind of question a little bit this directing writing team that is actually going to be handling Captain Marvel 2 as well. I feel like the script overall could have been a little better. I feel like some of the dialogue is a little played out, like a little flat. I feel like they limited Samuel L. Jackson, or maybe he had to be limited a little bit. Like you said, Perry, like he was kind of like, you know, being like the, like, you know, minor league version of Samuel L. Jackson for like Brie or whatever, you know. I mean, like I almost felt like he kind of had to like underact a little bit just to like make things flow with like Brie Larson, you know, like that's the gist I got from him, because he's such a like a outspoken, like extroverted kind of personality. And I really feel like, and this is where I want to go with the next question and next topic, is basically they really wanted to have a like Lethal Weapon, like a buddy cop kind of dynamic between Samuel L. Jackson and Brie Larson in this film. That was what they were hoping would work for them. Same thing as like they wanted in Sam and Bucky's, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I think they kind of like, somewhat pulled off. So, I mean, what do you think, Perry? I mean, what did you think of the dynamic or the rapport or whatever you want to say between Brie and Captain Marvel and Samuel L. Jackson and Nick Fury in the film?
I think it works sometimes and doesn't work other times. Like I don't know. I can't tell if it's some of the delivery. I think what came down to it for me is when I'm watching it, it seemed like some of the delivery was a little bit forced, going back and forth. Like not every time, and I think if you're looking at like the overall, it was like solid, but there was like a few lines where it just feels like it's a little like forced, like or things that like are kind of like not as clever as I guess I like. It just didn't feel as clever as I think they intended. Like when he asks her like, well, how do I know you're not a scroll, and she just like shoots the jukebox. Like I think they were looking for more of like a ha 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 ha, but I didn't really feel that. I was just kind of like, oh, she could like. I feel like that could have played out a little better, because, and that's just like one example of a few different times that kind of thing happens, where it just doesn't feel like it's like flowing right. Because I think they had a hard time trying to figure out whether they wanted her to be the alien on the like wrong planet and doesn't know what's going on, or like the person that knows what's going on at all times. And I couldn't tell kind of which way they were kind of pulling her a little bit. At some points, because I think today I watched it and this was like the third time since it came out that I've watched it. And so I was starting to notice like those little things where like when she shows up, the first thing she starts telling everybody is she's like, oh, I'm probably the Kree task force or fight force or whatever she calls it, like whatever she says, I can't remember. And like that's an indication that okay, this character is the alien from another planet role, like that's what's kind of going on. But then it feels like after like 10 minutes she's like well acquainted, but and I think that's because they were going in the direction like, oh, it's familiar to her and she's starting to like fill into it again, but they don't really give any indication that that's what's going on. They just kind of like assume that you're gonna like feel that too. And I think it could have gone a long way for her to like have like a spike of memory or something. So that kind of like character movement feels a little smoother. And like just so it was those kind of things that I think made those conversations sometimes a little weird, because at some points she was like fully engaged and fully knew what was going on, like in terms of like what he was saying. And then there was other times where she'd say something that was like alien on the like the wrong planet kind of thing, like what's going on. And then they would happen like back and forth, and one like she'd have one moment where she knew what was going on, and then the next like time it was kind of like she was not sure what was going on. And I felt like if you're going to do that, you kind of have to show her progressing her memory if that's the route you want to go in, or you have to fully commit to her not having that memory and feeling like an alien on the wrong planet. So I think that's kind of like those kind of things were kind of spotty to me a little bit, but it didn't ruin anything for me. It was just stuff that I've noticed like now on the third time watching it that I'm starting to like kind of listen to a little bit. But I think it worked, but there were times where I was kind of like that didn't quite land like I think they wanted it to,
I think you're being nice, Perry. Taylor, what do you think of the relationship or whatever, or the friendship between Samuel L. and Brie?
I think the dynamic worked for the most part. Samuel L. Jackson, first of all, he works great in everything, but he works especially great in that type of role where he is teamed up with somebody and he can play off of the other person. So he, trying to be that other person with Samuel L. Jackson is not an easy task to live up to try to, be at the same level that he's at.
Good point.
And I'll be honest, when I first heard that Brie Larson was cast as Captain Marvel, my first thought was, who is Brie Larson? I had to look her up, and the only thing I'd ever seen her in was Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and I didn't even remember her in that.
I love that movie.
And then I found out she had some dumb politics, but everyone in Hollywood has dumb politics, so I don't worry about that. But I would say I was pleasantly surprised with her performance. It wasn't. First of all, let's just throw the whole not Oscar worthy out of this. Like you said before, these movies are not about Oscars. Oscars are for movies about gay black women slaves with AIDS. They're the only ones that get the Oscars. Nothing that anyone actually sees. Okay, nothing that anyone actually buys a ticket to see gets an Oscar. All right. So, but I think her performance stepped up. I think she did a pretty good job as Captain Marvel. She wasn't my first choice. I had a couple people in mind that I would have liked to have seen play Captain Marvel. But, and this is something else I've always felt. Actors are actors. Directors make movies. All right. And Marvel, I don't even remember the name of the director of this movie, but whoever it was did what Marvel directors always do, and that is raise their actors, make their actors do what needs to happen. I mean, Robert Downey Jr., no one could make him stay sober enough to do 2 movies in a row until they hired him at Marvel to be Iron Man, and he became the greatest hero in Hollywood. So Marvel just does that. It just raises up the talent and makes them into these characters. So like I said, she had a tough job. Was it the greatest performance of all time? No, didn't expect it to be. But I think she did well, and I think having to work with Samuel L. Jackson and doing the Lethal Weapon, the Tango and Cash, whichever movie you want to refer it to, the buddy cop movie, I think was really good. And it wasn't instantaneous either. I like that when they went to the military base, he was actually trying to double cross her at one point. He was just trying to stall her until the other SHIELD guys got there. And it was only when he realized his boss was a Skrull that he said, wait a minute, I need to switch sides and get over with her, because these Skrulls are a big threat. They've taken out my boss. I don't know if he's alive or not. So again, the dynamic wasn't instantaneous. It had to develop over time. And of course, by the time that they were, flying the Quinjet into the prototype Quinjet, which I thought was really cool, that they flew into space, the mutual trust had blossomed at that point. So overall, I think the dynamic worked.
Great comment, Taylor. That was great, man. Honestly, the first part of that, like, you really raised some really good points there, man. Cyber, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this.
I mean, it's basically like I was saying before. I mean, we've already mentioned that Brie Larson isn't the greatest actress. There's definitely other people that could have played Captain Marvel, most definitely. But in a whole, like I said before, the movie itself is a good addition to the MCU. I thought there was a lot of great points in this film that were just fun. I thought there were some good, funny lines. The cameo of Stan Lee in this film was fantastic, especially him reading the Mallrats script.
Yeah.
That was freaking fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, that hands down right there was a great 90s nostalgia, piece of information there to really give it the 90s flair.
My girlfriend had a Mallrats poster above her bed.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
And
You can't see it, but I've got the movie right below me right here.
But yeah, I mean, like Taylor was saying, Samuel L. Jackson, he's great in everything. And one of the greatest scenes in this film, I think, is the scene where the dead Skrull is laying on the operation table there, and Ben Mendelsohn and him are looking at it. That scene where he actually Samuel Jackson picks up the thing and looks down to see the Skrull's private parts. That was all actually improvised by Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
And the reaction on Ben Mendelsohn's face was actually all like he didn't realize that Samuel Jackson was going to do that. So that whole scene was really well done, and you would have never guessed that was all improv there, because they both did so well. And I think they picked a really good cast for this film. Excluding Brie Larson, I'm sorry, I still don't think she's Captain Marvel, but I still think it was such a great cast, giving us a younger version of Nick Fury, getting a little bit more information about who he is and how he became the Nick Fury we know. and kind of that, kind of backstory and showing what happened to his eye. And then I think absolutely one of my other favorite things about this film was the Plorkin, the cat. The cat was absolutely hilarious. Goose. I mean, there was a lot of CGI used to make him do certain things, but how Samuel Jackson acted around the cat was so stinking hilarious. And as soon as he finds out that he was like some kind of alien thing that could swallow him whole, that was priceless, that scene. And I thought that, bringing this goose cat, was a great addition to that film, too. So those two things are probably the biggest reasons why I enjoyed the film as much as I did, is because of Samuel Jackson and that cat. And I think that without those two, even just Samuel Jackson, if they didn't have him in the film, I don't think it would have done as well if he hadn't been in it. And so I think he really is the reason why the movie is as good as it is.
Well, if they just would have replaced Brie Larson with the cat to work with Samuel L. Jackson, I think it would have been an Oscar-worthy movie.
There we go.
Anyway. Arch, listen, man, I'm just going to tell you right now. And I've already talked to Perry about this, and, I'm sure Cyber agrees with me, too. I think they miscast this role. I think that Brie Larson was not meant to play Captain Marvel. I think they could have put a different actress in that role, and she could have played it and done more with it than she did. But with that said and everything, I still very much want to hear what you have to say about the whole dynamic with Samuel L. and Brie, Captain Marvel, during the film.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess I'll start off with Brie. Now, first of all, I just want to preface this by saying I don't care what any actor or actress does in their personal lives or says in their personal lives. Don't give a shit. I really don't. So I'm not supporting or condemning anything she's ever said. I don't care. It's irrelevant. I don't care. I just watch the films. So just with that said, I really enjoyed what she did here, and I know that is a little contrary to probably how you guys felt, but I just want to back that up a little bit. So I think she hits an extremely wide range here, and I don't feel that gets talked about enough. But you've got scenes where she's dealing with Monica, where she's obviously extremely emotional about her past, and they're having this very personal bonding moment. And you've got scenes where she's being very extremely sarcastic, maybe with some of the Kree. You've got scenes where she's being very serious about what she's doing and very focused, during the chase scenes, perhaps. I just think she hits a pretty wide range here, so I don't see anything to even nitpick about this. I really enjoy her performance. Now, I mean, could somebody else have done better? I don't know. I don't really care, because she's who we've got, and I'm not gonna spend a lot of time watching this movie going, oh man, I really wish they would cast X person, because the X person isn't doing it. It's Brie, and I liked her performance, so that's all there is to it for me. But in terms of how she got along with Sam, I love the progression of the story. I like how they first met, and Sam thinks she's just totally cuckoo, and Bree's being completely dismissive of him because she knows that he doesn't have a clue about what's really going on in space, right? He's just kind of some dumb beat cop at that point, or at least that's what she perceives him as. But he gets in that chase scene, he sees an alien for the first time, and if it were me, I'd be like, all right, I'll listen to this chick and see what she has to say. That's kind of the start of their bonding, and as things get more serious, and then as they start to work together as a team, it kind of picks up a little bit. I mean, even in that scene, I mentioned that scene earlier where she's she discovers the picture of herself in the file room. It's not like she confesses that to him right away. She doesn't have that level of trust with him just yet. She would have done so later, but I think it's very natural how they sort of grew together, especially by the end, that they have this bond of trust, that she gives them this modified beeper to be able to call her, because she has a connection to Earth that she's willing to come and defend it, but it's not her top priority. She's more interested in ending the Kree Skrull War, or whatever the heck has been going on out there. But yeah, no, I thought they felt very natural together. I love Nick as you can see this budding leadership with him, but he's still, not the hard-boiled Nick Fury that we've come to know 20 years later. I don't know. I thought all of it was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, you know what, Arch? I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's nice to have contrast. It's nice to like, have different opinions on everything. And at the end of the day, I mean, look, there's parts of the movie that I like too, but overall for me, I guess where I'm at with it is just that I felt like, and I'm not saying that Brie Larson is a terrible actress or anything. Like, I haven't seen a lot of her other work, so I don't know. Like, maybe she's a great dramatic actress. But for me, I felt like in Captain Marvel, she was very flat and like very limited. Her range was very limited. Like, I felt like she had the same facial expression throughout the entire film.
I can't see that. I've heard a lot of people say that, so I don't want to just dismiss you outright because I've heard a lot of people say that. But I watched this film, and I go and I see her being snarky. I see her being sarcastic. I see her crying. I see her being overjoyed. I see a lot of different emotions here, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't really get that because when I watch it, I see a ton of rage. I really do. So I don't get that.
Cyber.
It's very much what it is it's a very one note. She might show those expressions, but at the same time, with how she delivers them, it's all one note. We don't see a huge range of difference between that. And so that one note, even though she might seem like she's excited or that she's sad or she's like being snarky, still how she delivers it, it's all very similar. You know what I mean? It's not like we don't see it. It's all very similar in how she presents it. That's what we're talking about. And even though she seems to, seem that level of like just that same one note going across, it just doesn't seem like it would be, that's what an Oscar worthy actress would get. You know what I mean? If they put Meryl Streep in the role, or if they put, Glenn Close, or somebody that's of that actual, Oscar calibration that's won an Oscar that has deserved it, that you would see a difference. You could see like that snarky, that innocence, that sad. You would see a big difference in with how we see Brie Larson. It has nothing to do with what, her social media, whatever she's talking about on the side or anything like that. It just has to do with her actual acting. Just seems like one flat note.
Taylor, what do you think?
I mostly agree with Arch on this, but I get what Cyber's saying. I don't know, maybe it was intentional. The somewhat one note. You got to remember, she's been brainwashed to be a Kree warrior, all right, and a leader at that. So showing too much emotion, is not a good idea if you're leading guys into combat and things like that. So I think that might have been a factor in her. I think also they were just trying to establish that was Carol Danvers' personality. She's a fighter pilot, even before the Kree brainwashed her. I think her best acting scene was the scene at the end, and where she was like at the low point, and she was losing, and the AI was telling her, it's over, we've got you, you're coming back, and it's just before she pulls the inhibitor ship or whatever that thing in her neck is that was preventing her from actually using her power and was controlling her. Just before she pulls that out, I think she showed a lot of emotion in that scene. And of course, they did the flashbacks to when she was a girl and getting knocked down and getting back up, which was kind of like the Captain America, I can do this all day, I'm going to keep trying no matter how many times you knock me down sort of reference. But I think that was her best scene. And again, okay, it's not she's not Meryl Streep. Okay, no kidding there. But this is a superhero sci-fi action movie. Acting, and this may be controversial, acting is not always the most important thing in that type of movie. Ask Arnold Schwarzenegger, like we talked about earlier.
You're right.
Yeah.
I just got done doing a review of what is it called? Without Remorse or whatever, the Tom Clancy movie.
Yes.
And I'll tell you right now, you got to suspend some serious belief through that film. Like, I'm telling you, like, if you want to like believe it or like, take it seriously. But okay, hold on 1 minute. I'm gonna play some clips. So just give me 1 second. I'm still trying to figure out Restream completely.
And while you're doing that, remember the best part of this movie was the opening logo with all the Stan Lee clips.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had just passed away.
Yeah.
It gave me the wrong impression. the energy core. Where is it?
Pararescue's on the way. You have 2 minutes until you're surrounded.
I see no reason to prolong this conversation.
No, wait! You mean that energy core? Commander, she's still moving. Permission to fire.
Hold your fire.
There's nothing left. The core's been destroyed.
Okay, we know they take her.
Hey Jeff, I don't think the video was showing on.
It doesn't show?
No. Did
It's
you do
stuck.
did you do the share screen or did you do something else?
Yeah, I'm on a share screen.
Because it worked last time when I have the live stream pulled up.
Oh, okay.
It didn't work that time for some reason.
Well, that's great.
It happens.
Technology, man. It's fantastic.
Okay, tell me if this works. Tell me if you feel this.
Oh, there we go. Now we're talking. Yep.
Yeah, now it's moving.
You knew all along. Is that why we never hung out? No, I just never liked you.
You got burned.
Nerve.
There you go,
Product
Brady.
placement.
Hey, in a hurry?
I don't think that lunchbox is vintage anymore.
Okay.
Okay, that's pretty dope.
I will say so many people complained about, like, I saw so much complaining about that song, like Just a Girl by No Doubt being the fight song. And
I
I was
love
like,
that song.
No Doubt kicks ass. I was like,
No
who's
Doubt's the bomb.
Yeah, I was like, who's complaining about that shit? I was like, come on, man. I was like, this is a movie about like her taking her like power back, and I'm like, come on. I was like, get into it, feel it.
Come on, Terry. Tell me.
Oh my God.
Can see this.
Hey,
is this visual?
Hey, during that scene, I felt just like a girl. You know, that's how into it I was.
Very nice. Can you guys see this?
No, can't see that.
Don't see anything.
Not seeing anything.
Okay. Sorry, folks. I'm learning how to use Restream.
It seems like your time on C-53 jogged the old memory.
I can hear it. For the record, I love this song.
Mm-hmm.
I do too.
I will say rock and roll would not be the same if the Foo Fighters never existed. But
Wait.
let me tell you why. The way things happened, there would be no Foo Fighters if Nirvana never broke up.
Right.
I'm not saying that I wish Kurt Cobain was dead, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? I'm not saying I
do
want Kurt
understand,
Cobain.
Larry.
Yeah, I don't want Kurt Cobain to be dead.
I love Kurt Cobain.
Right.
I love Nirvana.
But if the Foo Fighters never got together, oh, it'd be awful.
The Nirvana acoustic MTV Unplugged is like a masterpiece.
Oh yeah, it's incredible.
Just shows how talented Kurt Cobain was.
Mm-hmm.
He could play guitar, he could sing.
Look at that scene.
But he was a tortured soul.
You know, there are times.
There's that same expression.
Yeah, but then I'd be sleeping.
Dreams.
I had a terrible nightmare.
Wanna find
Did?
Are you sure you're not about to cry?
I slipped.
I can't tell.
Jude Law is
Jeff,
awesome.
you really don't like her.
No, I have no personal issue with Brie Larson. It's just that I'm not like marveled over like her performance.
Ba-doom-tsh.
Everything that I knew was a lie.
Now, you understand.
What?
Snare drum.
What do I understand now?
Young Rob killed Marvel. He killed her. Because she found out that she was on the wrong side.
This scene was just playing on my TV.
No. Your people are terrorists.
He did a good job with the struggles.
Innocents. I saw the ruins on Torfa.
Ruins that the accusers are responsible for. My people lived as refugees on Torfa. Homeless. Ever since we resisted free rule and they destroyed
9 Inch Nails was very 90s.
all of us.
Very.
We'll be slaughtered next.
Trent Reznor.
Well, help me finish what Marvel started. The core that she found was found at Lightspeed ship capable of carrying us.
He's actually done a lot of music for Disney lately.
And the Kree can't reach us.
Lost and always told us that over.
Okay. I really do like Ben Mendelsohn
Oh,
in the
I fell
movie.
in love with him the first time I saw him in a movie. Vertical Limit 2000.
Okay,
I knew he
so
was going to be great.
okay, pushing reset on this. So, I mean, look, I just wanted to play some clips just to kind of break up the monogamy a little bit and whatnot. And like, look, I mean, again,
Mahogany?
pardon me, the monogamy.
Mahogany? Are you?
Monotony.
Are you talking about marriage?
Pardon me. Thank you, Barry. Thank you for
I didn't realize
talking
we
to
were
me.
in a marriage.
There are 5 of us here. I just
Are we Mormons?
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. It was Ori. She hit me up on the side chat and like, you know, said that if I pretended I was Pan or whatever, like I could you know, whatever. Anyway.
There's no one watching this, right?
there's nobody watching.
This is not for kids. You do. No kids, baby.
I think he meant monotony.
Yes, something like that. Anyways, so, all right. Arch, I know that you feel pretty positive about the movie. What is your take on the directing and the story writing?
Directing and story writing. Well, I kind of touched on story writing a little bit earlier. With I thought there were some like really key moments of character development. Like really, anytime Bree is talking to I don't know. I can't remember why I'm forgetting Jude Law's character name, which is terrible for me. But basically, anytime she's talking to Jude Law, it's like another step in her character development, which I thought was all great. And since she's the key character, to me, that's the kind of key concept. But I think they progressed the whole thing in terms of her recognizing what's really going on and then making a decision on what to do about it pretty nicely. I thought the scrolls were done really well in terms of of how they appeared and their abilities and their motivations. I thought it was cool to kind of have this group of scrolls who were just seeking a peaceful existence. And I remember after this film came out, people were like, "Oh, scrolls are all the good guys now," and you're like, "Well, I mean, it's like, you don't know that, and you don't know that there are extended circumstances, and that like they'll never have like a secret invasion. By the way, we've got a secret invasion show coming up, so whoever said that, you were wrong. So
we'll be covering it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how that takes place. But like the little moments where like there were a couple key moments that we haven't really even talked about. But like he's defending his daughter, right, and the scroll, and he has that moment where he says, "Cover her eyes," but she sees him shoot somebody, and that makes me wonder, like, does that, this is a major traumatic childhood moment. It just makes me wonder, like, if she takes that and carries it further. At some point, there's a famous scroll queen who later becomes a major villain. I'm wondering if she maybe is behind Secret Invasion coming up. I don't know that. I'm just guessing, but stuff like that I think is really cool. I had something else in mind, but I'm probably letting it escape me right now. But overall, I just enjoyed the flow of the story. I mean, there's nothing else I can really say about it. I mean, so here's a little thing about me and the MCU films. I enjoy all of them. I mean, there's a few I would put on a higher pedestal, and I think are really truly great. Like I can't list them all, but Winter Soldier. They're ones you would know. Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Endgame, the original Avengers movie, Guardians of the Galaxy. Ant-Man was an amazing theater experience for me. Black Panther was huge. There's a whole bunch of them that I would say are the best for their own individual reason. But I find this one really enjoyable. I mean, it's not one of the ones that I would think was like a contender for the best film in the series, but I think they're all good or better than that. So I think this one's really enjoyable. That's about all I've got for it. I think it flows well. It's fun. I like all the characters. I think it's great.
Well, just to be clear, as far as like what I think of, like how I value your opinion on the movie, Arch, you better believe the MCU's Bleeding Edge is going to have you back for all of those freaking awesome movies you just listed, like the original Avengers and Infinity War and like all of it.
Anytime.
You'll be back.
Anytime.
Anyways, so okay. What do you think, like Cyber? I mean, as far as the directing goes, as far as the story goes, the script, what could have changed? What could have been different?
I mean, all in all, I thought it was decently written. I thought it was decently directed. I thought, in a whole, like I said, it was a great film. And I thought that the direction that they took Captain Marvel in to kind of give us a, kind of an intro into the character for, the first live action version of her was a decent job. I mean, with any character or any movie, you can always change so many different things because each person has their own valued opinion. We all have our opinions how it should go, how it should be, and etc. You're not going to change people because people are who they are. So it all comes down to what you enjoy, and if you enjoyed it, great. If you didn't enjoy it, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it. And like getting back to just talking about the writing, I thought the writing was decent. I thought that the two directors on this did a really great job. I was really shocked by it when I went and saw it in theaters. I was really impressed with their directing, their writing, and where they took it. The only exception, I just didn't care too much for Brie Larson. That's the only thing I didn't care for the movie. I loved Talos, Ben Mendelsohn. I thought he was fantastic as the character. I loved the direction they took the Skrulls in, just to kind of introduce us to the Skrulls. Just like what, many of us have talked about. We don't know if they're fully good. We just know that they're an alien race that's trying to do what they need to do to survive. And so we never know, we could see an alien invasion, they could become bad. Who knows? But I thought that the direction they took him in the film was really well done. And also, like I said, Samuel Jackson just did this whole movie for me. his performance, hands down, was my all-time favorite, along with the cat. You know, people are probably gonna be like, "You're crazy that you like the cat that much," but I did. I thought the cat was a great showstopper in this film, and I thought he was a great introducing to another alien creature that we hadn't seen in a Marvel film before. A Florkin. That was really cool to see this. Like, do they only come in cats, or we don't know that. We just know that this particular character was a cat. And Goose, I thought, was one of my favorite things about the film. So, all in all, it was a decent film, well written, well directed, and just all around a decent flick.
All right, most definitely, Cyber. Taylor, your thoughts?
Yeah, just to talk, I agree with Arch and Cyber. It was well directed, well written, and just one of the aspects of the writing is, of course, the connection to the overall MCU, and there was a lot of them in there. We saw two characters from Guardians of the Galaxy, Ronan the Accuser, and I forget his name, but the Kree soldier that was on her team, that was the one who captured Star-Lord at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Korath.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. We also had Coulson, of course. We had future stuff with, of course, Monica Rambeau, who we now all know from WandaVision. And the other thing is, as everyone else mentioned, the way they went with the Skrulls was brilliant. Okay, they were people. They were multi-dimensional characters. They weren't, like so many aliens are. They all have the same personality. They're drones. They all act the same. They all talk the same way. These were individuals. Ben Mendelsohn was incredible. He had a sense of humor. One of the best scenes is when he finds out that the Tesseract has been in orbit the whole time, and he looks to his partner. And he's like, "Was that so hard? I mean, you're my science guy."
He just goes.
But yeah, overall, just brilliant. I think the story for me, there was just a little period, and I'm really nitpicking at this point, but I want to be as balanced as I can. There was a little period about 2/3 of the way through the movie where it dragged a little bit. It seemed to get
okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. That's exactly what I thought.
But then it picked back up quickly. It was not a major stumble, but that's why I agree with Arch. The movies that he mentioned was, those are all 10 out of 10s for me. This one's a 9 out of 10, and there's only 2 movies in the MCU that are 8 out of 10 for me. Everything else is either a 9 or a 10. So this is right in there. It's a great movie.
So how do you feel about Captain Marvel 2, Taylor? Just to be quick, like, what are your thoughts going into
The Marvels, yes. I'm always excited to see what the MCU is going to do. I liked the Monica Rambeau character in WandaVision. I loved WandaVision in general. The whole show was incredible, and I liked her character a lot. I'm a little bit nervous about Ms. Marvel. Okay, I'm not real familiar with the character. I've seen her in a couple of cartoons. I think that's a hard character to pull off, but if anyone can do it, I'm sure Marvel will figure it out. And seeing that team up, I like team up movies with superheroes, and these are all going to be superheroes that we've seen before. So that's a good thing. You don't have to introduce someone in the movie. We're already going to know everybody at that point. So I'm excited to see where they go with it.
Well, that's a great point. I'm really glad, Taylor, that you mentioned Miss Marvel, because we haven't talked about Miss Marvel really at all. And I mean, it is kind of an unknown situation in terms of what we're going to end up with Disney Plus show. But again, just like you said, Taylor, I believe in Marvel Studios. I believe in, have faith in Kevin Feige. So I'm sure whatever they end up doing, I'm sure we'll like Miss Marvel. I don't think it'll be a bad series. But Perry, what are your thoughts for you, like, what are your thoughts on Captain Marvel 2? Like, I mean, are you optimistic?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on which way they kind of play it. From what it seems like, it's going to be more of a grounded situation, with Miss Marvel being like a teenager, and like Taylor was saying, the only time I've ever really seen her and stuff is a few of the like cartoons and the Marvel Avengers video game that just came out. She was like kind of front and center in terms of being a main component to that story, which the story was fun. I could go on a whole rant about that video game. It's a mess, but I digress. Yeah, I digress. But I'm optimistic because, like we're saying, like the Hat Man, Kevin Feige, he's an evil genius. He knows how to play us like a fiddle. So I'm sure it'll be a good series. Falcon and Winter Soldier we talked about where we enjoyed it. We thought it was really good, but it felt like kind of by the books for Marvel. And even if it's like that, that's totally fine. You know, not every movie in this whole expansive universe is going to be like mind bending and changing. Like WandaVision really like shook things up, which was cool. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier kind of went back to their roots on what was good about Marvel when they first started. You know, it felt grounded. It felt in the real world, which was cool too. And in Miss Marvel, I think is going to play in between there. So I think it'll be good. I'm excited to see what they do with it. Can't wait for that first trailer to drop. I don't know when they're going to do that, but I think it'll be I'm optimistic as usual about like the future Marvel stuff, but Miss Marvel is an interesting character because she's really new in terms of when she was first written into the comics. She's pretty new, so there's a lot of stuff that they can either make up and like play around with, or they can stick to what was created. I think she started in the early 2000s at the earliest, so
Yeah.
it's hasn't even been 20 years. So it's interesting. It's kind of like a kind of sandbox for them at this point with Miss Marvel.
Well, I mean, we all loved WandaVision without question. I mean, we did. Like, Cyber loved WandaVision. Perry loved WandaVision. I love WandaVision. I mean, I could watch WandaVision again tomorrow, and like, I'd be happy with it. To be honest with you, I thought it was great. I think that when it's all said and done, in the long run, people are going to appreciate WandaVision a lot more than they do maybe now. To be honest with you, but
Yes.
as far as Falcon and the Winter Soldier goes. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm really happy that we have a new Captain America. I am. I don't give a shit, who it is. Sam Wilson as Captain America works for me.
Yep.
I've been pumped to see Sam as Captain America ever since I saw Endgame. I was excited from jump.
Yep.
But honestly, what I wanted to kind of do at this point was to bring up the actual Rotten Tomatoes reviews and kind of just get some of you guys' opinions on these reviews and see, like, where we match with them and like what your thoughts are on them. So if you'll give me 1 second, I'll pull them up.
While you're doing that, I just wanted to give Taylor himself a quick plug. And if you ever, not to give our show a plug, but if you ever watch any of our reviews, Taylor has some fantastic WandaVision trivia, like little details about.
Arch, take as much time as you want and go ahead, man.
No,
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, so Taylor in our reviews of WandaVision brought up some insanely good details about like references to old classic TV shows they made, stuff I would never know about. So, I mean, check those out. It's like really cool little details about the sets and things they say and actors and just stuff like that. That's like really cool. That kind of, oh, really? Oh, that's kind of. It'll help you appreciate the show, I think, a lot more. It's really
awesome.
Good level.
Thank you.
Well, you might appreciate this. Perry and I were actually talking earlier this evening about doing a re-review of WandaVision sometime in the near future, and just kind of like getting together as a collaboration and doing our takes on WandaVision now that we've had more time to kind of like digest the whole thing,
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean, my point being, like, I plan on getting Taylor involved on that. So
you should do it. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'm always ready to talk about WandaVision.
That's a good choice.
I think it was a better series than Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
It was.
I
It's
agree.
really. It's really.
And what did you
very,
what
very
did you
good.
think? Let me,
WandaVision
Arch,
better.
what did you think, Arch? Did you feel like I feel like WandaVision was better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier? What were your thoughts?
I don't do a lot of better and worse stuff, but like I think it's great. I think it's fantastically written. I think they do a great job of balancing like having fun with the concept and working the concept of this TV thing into her backstory and to how it fits in the magic world and to how the concept of it being a television show works on like a bunch of different layers, and I think they do a wonderful job implementing that and making it exciting and enjoyable and meaningful in a lot of different ways.
Awesome, great take.
Yeah.
All right, okay, here we go. First Rotten Tomatoes review, and I'm going to go to Cyber with my first impression on this. The chemistry between Larson and Lynch propels the last half of the movie. Lynch brings depth, love, and believability to Maria. Okay, well, what do you think, Cyber? Is that like within the realm of like reality, or?
I honestly, that portion of the film was what I found dragged in Captain Marvel. Was that whole going back to that relationship thing with Monica Rambeau, or her mother, and I mean, I guess you could say they had sort of a chemistry. I would say partially I agree with that. But I didn't see it as anything fantastic or anything really appealing. I mean, it was basic, I thought. And so I would have to say I don't fully agree with that. But at the same time, that was one of the parts that really kind of I thought was slow and was unnecessary for the story, for the film to progress. And so I just, I thought that there was anything special there. I thought it was just pretty much just a basic conversation. Where have you been? You haven't, why didn't you tell us you were missing? Blah, blah, blah. It was pretty basic, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I have to like agree with you and just be honest and say that I think that whoever wrote that review was delusional. But here's the next one. Captain Marvel has things going for it that elevate it a bit above the pack and provide more cultural oomph and import. But despite that, this is also a Marvel movie that feels like another Marvel movie. Taylor?
Well, the person who wrote that is an idiot. All right. Not because anything they said was wrong, but because
that's what we want to hear.
They didn't say anything at all. That was a bunch of words that doesn't mean anything.
Excellent. That's perfect. All right. Harry, you ready?
I was born ready. Let's go.
I like this character and I like this movie. Brie, parentheses Larson, is square-jawed badass.
Perfect quote.
So,
don't laugh, Harry.
So, my whole thing with Brie Larson, me not like necessarily like getting too into her being Captain Marvel, is mostly just like that presence, like I think she's like a good actress and I think she does a good job, but when it became like strike the hero pose in a so to speak, I don't know if that even makes any sense. It just didn't, like I don't know how to explain it. It just
didn't flow.
it doesn't. It like I don't know if she has that presence that like I feel like they've casted every other person like really well, and I just for some reason hers just like her. I guess the only word is like presence for me. Like her, like she delivers the lines, she does the acting. Like it has nothing to do with like her skill. It's just I don't know. Yeah, like the hero pose just with her, it just doesn't work for me for some reason. I don't know why. Cause like
thank you, Taylor. You just killed my libido for the night, brother.
I don't know why. Because like I don't know. you know, it just doesn't, it just didn't fit for me. But like I like because I enjoy her throughout the movie mostly. There's a few things that I'm like, yeah, but that's with everything. Like you always have those parts where you're like, oh, that could have been better, that could have been worse, whatever. Um, but I don't know, like when she's being the hero, I'm not buying into it as much, and I'm not saying that as like I'm trying not to, but it's more of that like when it's happening, I'm like trying to like get into it, but I'm not connecting with her on that. Like I don't know
No,
why, you know,
no.
and it's
I mean,
not. I
I'm
don't
with
think it's her fault. I don't think it's my fault. I just think me and her just aren't compatible in terms of like hero and viewer relationship at this point.
no.
I don't know.
I'm getting what Ori's problem was earlier because, like, honestly, I couldn't connect with like Brie Larson as Captain Marvel on any like level as a biological male with her being a female. Like, I just like didn't feel any need to see anything beyond what was under like the uniform. You know what I'm saying? Like that didn't even, it just there was no connectivity there for me.
Watch your
And
hope, Jimmy Fallon. Just that's it.
but typically as a male, I have that vibe going with women. But like with Brie Larson, I just like I don't know. I mean, there's just no there's no spark. So I mean, um, maybe her acting is so great that like it's beyond sexual. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. But like anyway, uh, so back to the reviews. Arch, Captain Marvel is a film you should be proud to let your children watch. It will inspire them to understand there should be no limits on what women can achieve.
Right. So I, so here's the thing. I don't understand reviews like this because like is that a thing? Like, are people? I don't understand that being a thing people are worried about. I mean, you know what? Here's the thing. If it inspires you in that way, great. I really support you. That's awesome. That's awesome. I just don't understand it because like I mean, Sigourney Weaver was playing a major lead back in like what is it, like the 80s or something like that. So I don't know why this is something people feel like they need to be inspired for. But okay, fine. Like. That's great. Anyway, like I just look at her as like a great character, like like Hope Van Dyne or Wanda Maximoff or any of these other ones, and I think she's a great character. So I don't think there's any more to it than that. I don't think there's any more inspirational than that. I think she's great. I think Wanda's great. I think Hope's great. I think Maria Hill is great.
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. I think Black Widow. Yeah, I think Scarlett Johansson's great. I think
Okoye.
Yeah, Okoye, yeah, keep them coming. I think all of these characters.
Gamora.
Yeah, Mantis. I think all of them are great. So I don't see any real difference.
There's no shortage of female heroes in our culture. I don't know why.
Yeah,
no,
like it's a new thing.
There's a ton of them. Like, I mentioned Sigourney Weaver because I really love the Alien films, and I always liked Ellen Ripley. I think she was great, and that film's been out for decades. It's not like it's a real new phenomenon, at least from the way I see it. So I don't see anything new about it. But I mean, Underworld. I really love Kate Beckinsale in Underworld. I thought that was a
oh yes, most definitely, without question.
Yeah,
I don't know what you think, Cyber, but Kate Beckinsale in Underworld, just straight up excellent.
Yeah. I enjoyed the whole series. I liked them all. I thought they were all fun, entertaining, and I mean, who doesn't want to watch Kate Beckinsale kick some ass? You know,
I do.
I mean, she was believable in Underworld, the first one. Like, she was believable. You could believe her kicking ass.
Right.
Like, her facial expressions were believable to me, I guess. But, Cyber, lacking a unifying vision and a charismatic star performance, this film is less a big screen comic than a patchwork quilt.
A patchwork quilt, huh? I mean, that's kind of a dumb, like, trying to correlate it to a patchwork quilt. I don't know how that works, but I mean, yes, I mean every movie has its lackluster moments. It's not going to please every single person, and that's because everyone's subjective to their own opinion, and so I mean that person definitely didn't care for the film. And I can see why some people might not like it. I can see why a lot of people would love it. But at the same time, I think that they are crazy. I mean, it wasn't horribly written. It wasn't horribly directed. It wasn't a masterpiece, but still, it was at least an enjoyable and entertaining film. So yeah, I mean, that person definitely needs to rewatch it.
Hey, it made over $1 billion. I
Yeah.
mean, in the box office. So that's got to mean something.
Yep.
You know. All right, Arch. Good Marvel formula with some genuinely surprising twists and strong action, but a familiar groove nonetheless.
There isn't a Marvel formula. I don't know what anybody ever means by that. Like, if you can tell me that Black Panther is the same as Infinity War, as the same as Guardians of the Galaxy, is the same as the Winter Soldier, I don't know what you're talking about, because those are really different films. But so I just think it works. I think it's actually not that action heavy, which. Leads me to something Cyber said earlier, which is about the sequel, and I think the sequel here has a chance of being as different as any other film in the series from its original movie, perhaps even more different than, let's say, like the Winter Soldier was from the first Avenger. So I think it has a chance to really grow and just be something different and interesting. And I don't know where they're going with it. I don't want to guess. I mean, it could be like a massive action-heavy space epic. It could be something like really more introspective in terms of like how Miss Marvel and her relationship with Monica to work out. It's probably all of that, actually. But where did I start with this? I forgot. No, I just think this film
Snowball effect.
Really, yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. I just think this film really worked, and I thought I think they can go a lot of different places with it. So we'll see.
Okay, Perry, what would you want to say?
Oh, I was just gonna say what people usually mean when they say Marvel formula is more towards like the origin stories, how they kind of run the same beats a little bit, where like the bad guy is always like the friend in the beginning, but has an evil plot behind the scenes. Like it's like Iron Man, Thor, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man. Like they all have that same kind of like those beats. They're all different because the story is different, the characters are different, but I think it's like an annoying like comment, but that's what usually people are like talking about. But
So there are some similar things with the I mean, they've got like 24 films and some shows and stuff now. So, but I mean, that does happen. But there's other differences, like Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't play out like that, where the first one, like, it's not like Rodan was ever a friend of theirs. It's more about the team development, or like Iron Man 2. It's not like Whiplash was like best buddies with Tony Stark. He came after him immediately.
Yeah.
There's tons of different types of things they set up.
Yeah, people are just annoying. That's what I usually just I usually just go, yeah, whatever, man.
Especially critics.
Yeah.
Because they have to write something, even if they don't know what they're talking about. They have to write something, so
they're sitting there.
Yeah, Black Panther, Killmonger never best buddied.
No.
So like that's not a thing.
No.
Anyways, like whatever. Like, I mean,
All right.
there's obviously going to be similarities. It fits into the same world. It's going to feel like it fits into the same world, but I mean,
yeah,
so whatever.
Well, they're comics. Like,
right.
There's only so much you can really change without totally derailing it from the actual like places they're getting it from. It's like just they're comic book movies. Like, just take a breather, guy. Take a walk. Take a lap around the track.
To close things out, I've got a little something different for y'all, and I'll start with Taylor. Taylor, what are your thoughts on the What If series?
Oh, I'm looking forward to the What If series. I mean, the only episode that I know of is the one with Agent Carter, or Peggy Carter in that series, I guess, gets the super soldier formula. So I know that's one of the episodes, and I'm really looking forward to that episode. I think it'll be fascinating. But I have no idea what the other episodes are. And, of course, you know, there's literally no limits whatsoever. I guess there's going to be a Marvel zombie episode in one of them. I think I saw in the trailer.
Yeah.
But again, there's no limits. Absolutely anything could happen, which is the beauty of the What Ifs, which of course was a comic series back in the day. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
Oh yeah,
I without messing anything up, because they're self-contained. You know.
I own a bunch of What If comics myself. I always loved them back in the day. Cyber, I've never asked you this before. What are your thoughts on What If?
I'm looking forward to checking it out. Seeing a animated, Marvel series that is from the MCU studios. Uh, that will show us different aspects of what could happen if, like, say, the story of a particular character was altered. So, like, talk about Peggy Carter, her getting the super soldier serum instead of Steve. That's going to be very interesting. What if what if it wasn't Tony Stark that created, the tech? Maybe it was somebody else, or if maybe it was Rhodey. Who knows? It'd be interesting to see these different types of, like, what if this happened instead of this. That would just be interesting. And also, just like they were saying, because it's animated, they can do anything with it. So I mean, this could be really spectacular. So yeah, I mean, when they said that they were creating What If, I remember thinking, I wonder what this is, and then they explained it a little more. It's like, ooh, that'll be interesting, kind of like a parallel universe type of deal, kind of like what the multiverse deals with. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do and how they do it, and just what we can see of alternate versions of these characters, and it'll just be a lot of fun, I think.
Most definitely.
Hey,
Arch.
I got a question.
Go ahead, Taylor.
If I remember right, and I could be wrong about this, but in the comic series, wasn't the What If comic series kind of hosted by the Watcher?
Etu, yeah, the Watcher.
I wonder if they'll do that in the cartoon.
It is. It's
It is,
Jeffrey
yeah.
Wright. Jeffrey Wright is going to play the
okay.
Watcher.
Great.
Yeah, and I love Jeffrey Wright. I do.
Yeah.
Personally, I do. Arch, what do you think? I mean, how impactful do you think What If could be?
I think it's a fun series. I don't think it's like going to be something that you need to take like super seriously. It's not like you're going to be debating how it fits in and like where things are going from here. It's just going to be like fun little things. Like I think another episode. I don't know a lot about him either, but I think another episode is T'Challa becomes Star-Lord. I'm not sure if that means he's the one that's related to Ego, or if that even matters, or what. But it's just fun little scenarios that. Of things that are a little bit different, and I think that's a really cool idea. I did want to throw out one little fact on Captain Marvel, though, is there's a missing scroll. Nobody ever talks about this, but 4 scrolls show up on Earth, and only 3 of them are accounted for by the end of this film.
Ooh.
Just saying. I don't know which one it is or what that means, but just wanted to throw that out there.
Good eye. Good eye. Harry.
Yeah, just like everybody else is saying, like it's going to be cool to watch something that doesn't necessarily carry a lot of weight, and it's just something fun. It's going to be the first like animated thing that connects to the MCU, and everybody that is in it is voicing their own characters, so you get like the actual actors playing their characters. So that's like a really cool thing that you don't see a lot. And I think these different stories, like T'Challa being Star-Lord, Peggy Carter becoming Captain Britain, you have zombie Captain America, like all these weird, wacky things, and it's like where is it going to go? We're going to have some fun for like a 20-30 minute episode, and next week we get another one, and it's just going to be a fun thing, like there's no like pressure behind it. So I think that'll be like a fun like break in between the things that are going to be like, especially after Loki, we're going to be like, I feel like everything's going to be like different in terms of how we view like the multiverse and how it's going to affect the rest of these movies moving forward. And with the What If, that's going to be a good break after that for our minds to kind of like settle a little bit, and for everybody to just be like, yeah, let's just enjoy this and see what happens. Like let's just have some fun instead of like worrying about not like worrying about, but like contemplating all these different questions. We just get to watch What If, and they just say, what if, like what happens if this happens? Here it is, I think it'll be cool.
Most definitely. And what is the schedule on Loki, guys? Like when does it comes out on what?
Starts on 9th, and it's every Wednesday. Yep.
Okay, so will we be able to could we do a Loki review on Wednesday evening? Will we be able to pull that off this week?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
All right, good to know. Well, Arch, Taylor, I mean, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't love to have you guys come on. You know what I mean? If that's the case, if we're able to pull off a Loki review, next Wednesday, that would be great. But I just want to thank you both very much for coming on the MCU's Bleeding Edge, and I want to give both of you a chance to just kind of just talk about the podcast of champions really quick, and kind of just talk about yourselves and your own content and like what you guys do on your own.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll sort of start that since myself and Grandmaster, who you've talked to yourself, I refer to him as Wellabers on Sakar. But we got together around back in August, and we've been chatting on the site for like a long period of time. But we finally started getting on a kind of in a format very similar to this, where we just started talking to each other about a range of topics, and then we started reviewing new shows and films when they came out. So we've been doing that for a bit. We haven't had any new content for a little bit since dating back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but we've actually got our own review series coming out on Loki coming up, which of course you guys are welcome to join us on as well. So we'll see how all that works out. But we're excited. Check out our stuff. I'm sure we'll drop a link or something somewhere for you guys. But take a look at it. We just kind of casually hang out and talk about whatever comes up at the moment, man. So
cool.
Taylor, what do you think?
Definitely.
Yeah, Arch and Wellabers, our Grandmaster, are the ones behind the power behind the throne there at the podcast of champions. They do all the work. They just invite me in to run my mouth from time to time, and we have a lot of fun.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, again, I mean, we're really, I mean, I personally, and I know that Perry and Cyber, definitely appreciate you guys. I love the fact that we're connecting this Infinity Saga review with you guys. I love having you guys' input on here. It's awesome. I mean, it's nice to collaborate. It really is. It's a good thing. And, it's also nice to have Perry, Ramsey, and Cybernetic Shark and have a full team on here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge tonight. I want to close things out and just basically, again, just thank all of our supporters, thank all of our viewers, our listeners.
We had two tonight, majority of the stream.
Yes. And our family members, our friends, everybody out there who supports our content. We really all appreciate the hell out of it. And Taylor, thank you very much, brother, for jumping on.
Thanks for having me.
It was nice to have you on. I'd love to see you again and have you on the show again. Hopefully we'll do that soon. Arch, you're a good man.
Thanks, man. You too.
You really pulled one for Captain Marvel tonight, man. Like, I mean,
I enjoy all this stuff. I am an unashamed MCU apologist. I love everything. You don't even know how much I love everything that they've done. Really, seriously, really, you've only breached the surface, man. We'll get there.
Just wait until we put the first Avengers film on here and I start crying and everything during it. Like, then you'll see what's going on. I'm telling you right now.
Right there, man.
Cyber.
Yep.
I love you, brother.
Oh, you do?
I'll talk to you later, man. Harry, I love you too, man.
Love you too, man.
All right, brother. All right, everybody. MCU's Bleeding Edge. Out.